Thanks for coming to today's program. My name is Time Smiley. I'm an administrative assistant at the JES. I have a couple of things to do before we get started, like go over some housekeeping notes, tell you about upcoming JES events, and introduce today's presenters. Just some housekeeping. If you need assistance during the event, please find one of our volunteers, so me or Richard out there, and ask us for help if you need it. And there will be a Q&A portion after the presentation. Just make sure to raise your hand, speak clearly, and make sure it's a question and not a story. And then for our upcoming events, Wednesday, March 26th at 6 p.m., David Frew will be at Harbor Creek Township to present Lake Erie Fish Wars, shots fired at local fishermen. And then Thursday, March 27th, Anthony Colonna will be presenting a lecture at Jefferson Educational Society, Common Foot Problems and Prevention Methods. And lastly, I would like to introduce our presenters, Charles Gray and Matthew Platz. So I do have their bios to get through. No, I love the enthusiasm. But Charles Chuck Gray is a community and economic development leader serving as an executive director at Impact Corry in Corry, Pennsylvania. With over 20 years of experience, she is dedicated to radical collaboration, data-driven solutions, optimism, and strategic planning that addresses root causes rather than symptoms. She earned her undergraduate degree in communication arts, graduating cum laude from Grove City College in 1988 with minors in literature and teaching. She continued her graduate level studies in literature at Middlebury College. And we have Dr. Matthew Platz. He is the Executive Director of Corry Higher Education Council, beginning his role in January of 2023. Dr. Platz is a resident of Erie who received his education at local colleges and universities. He serves his community by contributing as a Knight of Columbus and a board member of Junior Achievement in Erie. Let's give them a warm JES welcome.
We're going to take this in shifts. The project that Impact Corry does, putting in fiber, is like plumbing the city. The project Matt and the Hyatt is doing is using that plumbing to bring workforce improvements and educational improvements to Corry. So that's how we're going to split it up. And I have to work on two computers, so apologies, because I wrote my notes here. All right, so Impact Corry. We are a nonprofit based in Corry, Pennsylvania. At Impact Corry, we like to say that we're reinventing rural through community, economic, and civic development. I'm thrilled to present here tonight at this Jefferson Educational Society event. Whoops. Okay. Impact Corry's work is driven by a database 10-year plan called the Corry Community Strategic Plan. This plan was made, not surprisingly, with the help of our neighbors and advocates. The Corry Community Strategic Plan focuses on 5 areas of work that together are bringing opportunity to Corry. These areas include activating our city center, revitalizing our housing and neighborhoods, linking and improving our green spaces, stabilizing our city's fiscal balance sheet, and ramping up our connectivity. Though each of these areas leverages the other and each is important, tonight we're going to be focusing on ramping up our connectivity. Improvements in our area's broadband are the one thing that will place Corry on par with major US cities offering the fastest internet in the nation. The access, coupled with the educational and workforce opportunities that will be shared later by Dr. Platz, will give our residents, our children, and Corryans yet to come the chance to exist and to thrive in the digital economy. First, let's look at broadband access. that the Corry Community Strategic Plan promotes and what broadband access currently is in Corry. Okay, looking at all the red, we had to do an initial plan for the lines of fiber to go out into the Corry area to be able to price it and be able to get funding. So this is ramping up our connectivity's first priority, a fiber gig network in the city of Corry, with the major routes here in red. Some of the network will travel outside city limits. You can see over there to the left. This is because fiber has to be done in loops, so if anything's cut, it can still have redundancy. And also, these loops will actually be the first trunk lines to expand further into the school district. The proposed fiber network will be able to provide gig fiber communication to every home and business within this footprint. Okay. Whoops, I didn't hit both computers within this footprint. I'll get it down. And the fiber network will cover that area at gig speeds. Okay, I know, what the heck is that? Gig fiber provides 1,000 megabytes per second download and 1,000 megabytes per second upload to homes. The current federal communications minimum speeds for broadband are 100 megabytes per second download and 20 megabytes per second upload. So federal minimum is 110. Our network will be 1,000. Let me make those speeds more tangible. If I were downloading this PowerPoint, it's about 400 gigs, at the minimum FCC speeds, it would take about 32 seconds. That same file would download in 3.2 seconds through fiber. If I were uploading this PowerPoint to the internet, it would take 2 minutes and 47 seconds to upload at federal levels. It would take 3.2 seconds by fiber minimum speeds. This is a saving of 2 minutes and 3.8 seconds on one file. This may not be a make or break for the household, but it is for business and remote workers and online learning. This speed is essential for what they're doing. In business, time is money. The advantages of faster broadband will draw businesses from stock investment companies to graphic artists to computer coders to video game creators to cybersecurity firms to remote work companies to online learning to technology and startups and many more. Conversely, many of these occupations gain competitive advantage from faster internet. Bank employees can process information faster, freeing up staff to better serve customers. Stock trading and manufacturing with robotics could not succeed or even operate in a marketplace without these speeds. Why does it keep? At the 1,000 megabits per second speed in Corry, and the 1,000 megabyte speed minimum in Corry is not the speed limit. The Corry network is designed to be able to deliver a minimum of 1,000 megabytes per second and up to 5,000 megabytes per second to the home and 10,000 megabytes per second to business. That file that took 3.2 seconds to download or upload at a minimum fiber broadband speeds will now take 0.64 seconds at planned fiber for the home speeds of 5,000 and 0.32 seconds at planned speeds for business of 10,000. And the Corry Fiber Internet will be able to deliver even faster speeds through the same fiber network. So hear that clearly. We're going to put this fiber network in. They're not at capacity. The transmitters that send light pulses down those lines are getting better and better. So the same lines that we put up now will be able to deliver higher speeds in the future as transmission technology improves and becomes more affordable. And fiber networks truly outpace all their possible competitors. You see that not to scale? That's because there should be a whole great big difference between 50 gigabytes per second and 100 terabytes. The maximum theoretical limits for fiber are very high, but current commercial systems are reaching 100 terabytes per second. Cable networks max out at about 50 gigabytes per second. That is only 1/5 of what is possible through fiber. Wireless networks and 5G hold the next highest speeds, they top out about 20 gigabytes, or 2% of the speed of fiber. But 5G networks, you can't get them without a baseline of fiber. So it doesn't matter, it's chicken and egg. Satellite ranks next at top speeds of 220 megabytes per second, or 0.022% of fiber speeds. And DSL tops out at 100 megabytes per second, or 0.10 of fiber speed. So remember that file that took 32 seconds at 0.32 seconds at 100,000, 10,000 megabytes per second. At 100 terabytes, a speed currently achieved, that file would take 0.000004 to transmit. You start to see the savings. These speeds are already being delivered by fiber in the real world. A fiber optic network has a better connection quality than traditional networks because the light that beeps down, that pulses down the lines, it barely degrades as it travels throughout the network. And fiber, it has a higher resistance to electromagnetic and radio frequency interference, which means your signal won't be disturbed by things that carry an electrical charge, or power lines, or your building's infrastructure. Fiber is more secure than traditional networks. The only way to disrupt a fiber line is to cut it, which makes an intrusion in the network very obvious. Copper can be tapped without anyone being aware that someone is downloading and taking information. I saw a nod, thank you for that. That one gets me. Optical fibers are 5 times smaller and 20 times lighter than copper, making them easier to install than other options. They also allow for easy upgrades of equipment. For all these reasons and the workforce opportunities that will help Corry survive into the future, the Corry Community Strategic Plan chose to take the big swing of bringing a fiber optic network into Corry. The second goal of ramping up our connectivity is to expand the city's network outward to serve 100% of the Corry area school district with high-speed fiber internet. During COVID, the school system reported that over 40% of our students couldn't even connect by internet. This is how we're going to do it. First, through the use of a community benefit agreement, when Corry's fiber internet is installed, it will return $100,000 per year for the next 50 years in network fees. These fees will be reinvested into the community, supporting high-speed internet expansion and other economic development. We're not going to cover the school district alone, however. Impact Corry is partners with organizations such as Northwest Commission. They have used our model as a basis of what they're calling Core Connect, and they are currently asking for bids to bring high-speed fiber to all 8 counties that they serve through this collaboration. Third, Erie County has identified underserved and unserved areas in Erie County and has begun securing funding to connect unserved and underserved communities through grant dollars. Some people express concern that the Corry Fiber project is taking too long to be completed. Let me give you an example. Newly awarded broadband funding that just came out about a month ago from the BEAD program gives recipients 4 years from the date of their award to complete their broadband projects. They give them 4 years because this is a complex infrastructure and implementation process. Uh-oh. Perry will have to wait. You're more important.
He knows what to do. He's impressed.
Yes, he's phoning in. He's streaming live. Impact Corry completed its fiber project funding in January of 2022. Since 22, the Corry project has completed all legal, planning, regulatory hurdles to implement and was ready to go to bid with the project January 2nd of this year, with completion set for prior to the end of this October. This timeline would place the Corry project firmly within the 4-year funding deadline of BEAD. It's a big project, it takes time. The upshot is projects of this scale are not completed overnight, and that Impact Corry has been diligent in its work to avoid pitfalls mid-project that have occurred in other projects that have been rushed to implementation. So, where is that money going? This is a map from the Center on Rural Innovation. It's based on the Federal Communications map, but it's a separate map that I felt was easier for you to see. It shows which areas in our region are considered served, which are in green. So no federal dollars will flow to the green areas. Underserved, that just means they're below, they have internet, but it's below the FCC standards of 120. Those are in yellow, and unserved places where they don't have internet at all are in light red. Notice that Corry is green. This means it's considered served, making it ineligible for new funding. Now I'll give you the FCC map. See why I gave you that one first? This one's so much harder. This is the Federal Communications broadband coverage map. You can see from the blue hexagons that FCC considers Corry to be served. This map is the standard used by funders to determine if your community is eligible for funding. Only the white unserved or underserved hexagons is where that money will flow. But I want to let you know that the FCC map is known for inaccuracies. The map, which are currently being used to allocate millions of federal fund dollars for broadband deployment, rely on internet provider reports of delivered speeds rather than real-world speeds. The FCC's map has faced criticism, including overstated coverage, missing locations, and reliance on internet service providers without testing. We know through speed tests that the FCC map doesn't reflect the internet speeds delivered to subscribers in our community. Despite Corry's speeds having tested below FCC minimum because providers have reported delivery at these speeds. Corry is not eligible for improvement dollars for our network. A broadband coalition called the Accurate Broadband Data Alliance is warning the FCC that its national broadband map contains errors that will hinder and in many cases prevent deployment of essential broadband services by redirecting funds away from areas that truly lack sufficient broadband. The FCC minimum standard of being served is the minimum speed 100 to 20. I'm gonna keep saying that. I know it sounds wacky. At these minimum speeds that we're told are provided in Corry, you should be able to watch high-def movies without buffering, enjoy online gaming without lag, run multiple devices, post to social media, upload photos, and participate in basic video conferencing without a glitch or a slowdown or a dropout. Though our providers report to the FCC they consistently deliver these speeds in Corry, these speeds are widely not delivered. Instead, it would have been so profound if I would have done that just right. Corry has buffering problems, lag problems, long upload waits, video conferences that bog down and drop out, and we have the spinning wheel of death that you've all encountered. Broadband in Corry is not delivered consistently at FCC required speeds. Corry is not receiving these speeds because cable, DSL, wireless, and satellite networks experience drops in speed due to peak usage times, multiple devices being used, physical limitations of their networks, faulty equipment in your neighbor's house upstream, electromagnetic and radio frequency interference, even bad weather and tree cover can interfere with your reception. And because of loopholes, the providers may claim they service an area when their service is available only to 51% of residents in that area. Corry is one of the communities that is considered served but is underserved. By the map, you can say Corry is served and we don't need anything more. I will say it again. Though the FCC map shows Corry as served, data and testimonials prove that Corry is not served sufficiently and that we need more and better options. Some people believe that Corry's broadband will get better, that someone else is going to do the work, that Erie County or regional providers or the state will eventually get to us and improve Corry's internet. Let me be very clear on this as well. Unless and until the FCC increases the minimum standards, not a dime of grant money will be spent on Corry broadband. Speeds below the FCC minimum standard are required for a project to receive funding because, as you can hopefully see, the map isn't really great. The city of Corry is purple on this map, which means what? It's served and not eligible for funding. Providers won't be improving local systems anytime soon either. It is not profitable for providers to improve their networks in rural areas. Yet for decades, providers have been receiving taxes from subscribers meant to be spent on system expansion and improvements. The money isn't being spent where the people are few and far between. That is why there are so many red areas on the PA broadband map that correspond with rural communities. Red indicates underserved or unserved. Grant funding for Corry isn't coming, and providers aren't going to fix the problems unless and until they are forced to do so. FCC standards raised in 2024 are unlikely to be raised again anytime soon, and federal grant dollars are tied up in the FCC standard that currently exists. The reason that Impact Corry was able to raise the funds for the fiber network were, number one, we got in this earlier before all these rules were codified. We saw what was coming and we got on it. Number two, we tested our network. I can't tell you how many addresses I tested to see what the speeds were, and we collected testimonials, and we proved to the state and federal government that though Corry is served, it's unserved. And for the last reason, and most important, Corry is a pioneer. Our model is that the nonprofit will own the fiber network. In most cases, when they improve, even if they're taking federal funds, the internet company owns it, and there are not funds returned to the community. So our model is by having a nonprofit own it and fees are assessed to the provider that runs it, we will continue to reinvest money in the community as long as that system exists. So to demonstrate better how limited and expensive high-speed internet is in Corry, I decided to make a comparison. I typed top internet providers in Corry, PA into a search window, and I visited each company's website and entered my service address in downtown Corry. Though claiming to serve our areas, neither T-Mobile nor Viasat offered services in Corry. And I have tested from 100 business locations and 100 residence locations. They are not here, and they tell the federal government they are here. Sorry, I'm a little bit, I get a little on my high horse about that. Spectrum prompted, when I tested my thing, it prompted me to call. It wouldn't tell me if I had service. I did. I met a very lovely lady from South Carolina, and she told me that Spectrum is the only company that claims gig speeds in Corry. Again, those speeds we already debunked, and that's at $94.99 per month for the first 24 months, and $119 per month after that. HughesNet speeds topped out at about 1/10 the speed of gig fiber and costs about $94.99 per month for the first 12 months again, and then $119 per month after. Starlink speeds topped out at about only 1/6 the speed of gig fiber and costs $120 per month, and had a $469.94 equipment charge. Plus, they also warned me that there might be additional congestion and other fees that would be added to my monthly bill. Corry needs better connections, Corry needs less expensive connections, and so does our entire school district. The Corry Fiber project is intended to give people a choice, the choice to choose a network that delivers the speeds necessary to run their businesses and households, speeds where the kitchen tables can become offices or classrooms. Still, I hear some people say that the broadband in Corry is good enough. Yet recently it was reported in the Corry Journal that the city of Corry reported that virtual meetings had to be shut down because the broadband isn't good enough. In the heart of downtown, right here in this building, they had to shut down and employees went home at least 3 times last year that I heard about.
The weather was...
Because the weather impacted their internet and the internet was down. Merchants report not having broadband speeds fast enough even to run basic online software like QuickBooks, and as well as losses in sales due to credit card machine failures and slowdowns. In cases like these, the building of true and beautiful means the destruction of good enough. We can't say Corry has it good enough. The broadband service that Corry has is not good enough for the family contemplating moving away because they cannot buy at any price the speed necessary to keep their remote work jobs. It is not good enough for the family who's been told their house is too far from the network to be connected. It's not good enough for folks who want to stay in touch with their family and friends. The broadband that Corry has is not good enough for the mom who quit her online class that would lead to a better job, so the cell phone data she was using for her class could be used by her 4 kids trying to complete schoolwork. It is not good enough for so many people who shared their stories when we were researching the speed test and speed testing real-world internet speeds before creating the Corry Community Strategic Plan. The broadband speeds that Corry has will not allow us to grow existing businesses or keep our neighbors. If Corry doesn't demand better, if Corry doesn't take the big swing to be relevant in the digital economy, Corry will be gone. It will not grow. Corry will not thrive without decisive action to position itself in the digital economy. The cycles of the disinvestment that have been pervasive for decades will just continue. And now for the bummer part. This is what we're going to look at. Why does Corry need to take the big swing of creating the lightning fast fiber optic network? Because we are again largely working together, investing, and we're seeing signs of life returning to Corry. We have to grab that momentum and go forward. But Corry still has a steep hill to climb. Since its peak in the late 1950s, Corry has experienced repeated cycles of job losses, population losses, and disinvestment. Like rural communities throughout the Rust Belt, Corry is still experiencing a debilitating population exodus that, as you can see from the data, has slowed down in the past few years but has not stopped. From Corry's population peak of 7,911 in 1950, our small city has fallen to 6,075 in 2023, a loss of over 23% of our population. This means fewer residents upkeeping their homes, fewer workers available for employers, fewer jobs coming to town, fewer children who will grow up and stay here, a shrinking tax base, and limited time to make the changes necessary to succeed as a community. Add to that since the Great Recession from 2007 to 2009, the growth of rural jobs has not yet regained lost ground, let alone risen above 2007 levels, as jobs in urban areas have done significantly. These factors combined have left Corry families living in poverty, some for multiple generations. 29.2% of Corry residents live at or below the poverty level. 54.57% of Corry residents are categorized as low to moderate income. And 40% of Corry's children and youth live in poverty. This is 19% higher than the Pennsylvania average. Together, these decades of disinvestment have resulted in blight, increased taxation, curtailed services, municipal infrastructure failures from deferred maintenance and equipment kept in service long past its operational lifespan. And the problems aren't all in our past. Unfortunately, with the rise of the digital economy, automation and artificial intelligence poses a new round of disinvestment on the horizon, which will be felt more deeply in rural areas. As shown in this Center on Rural Innovation, Automation and Rural, job losses due to automation will hit rural areas harder than urban areas. This study projects that 55% to 60% of jobs in rural Erie County will be at risk of elimination from automation. The 2019 McKinsey Global Institute study projects that roughly 2,000 rural counties in the US could be facing a decade of flat or even negative employment growth due to automation. This diagram shows that Erie County as a whole is projected to have 0 to 5% job growth in these sectors due to automation. The message is clear. High-speed internet is not a luxury or a fad. High-speed internet is an essential utility that every day is becoming more and more a deciding factor for success on the farm as well as the high-rise office. As the US Secretary of Agriculture and Secretary of Commerce summed up in their American Broadband Initiative milestone report in a letter to President Trump, this is more than a technology problem. Without access to broadband, entire communities are increasingly left behind in today's information-driven economy. By connecting our communities, we are reconnecting Americans with one another and helping to ensure that everyone has the opportunity to benefit from this booming economy. So after all the Debbie Downer, why will fiber work in Corry? Because it's already worked elsewhere, repeatedly. A September 2024 study from the Center on Rural Innovation reports that rural counties with high-speed broadband adoption rates over 80% have significant advantages over those with low usage, including 213% higher business growth, 10% higher self-employment growth, 44% higher GDP, and 18% higher per capita income. Access to broadband is also shown to improve education and health outcomes. The White House report shows that high-speed internet is spurring economic growth and boosting small business. These increases in health, education, and economic growth are happening from cities large to small. One of the largest and one of the role models we looked at when developing our plan for Corry is Chattanooga, Tennessee, known as the Gig City. In 2010, Chattanooga became the first city in the United States to build a fiber to the home network, offering up to 1 gig upload and download. In 2015, Chattanooga upped speeds to 10 gigs. Building the Chattanooga network cost approximately $220 million. Much bigger city, don't worry. We're a little over 2 million. 10 years after the network was built, a 2021 study by the University of Tennessee found that the fiber network had delivered Chattanoogans a $2.69 billion return on investment in their network's first decade. Going to repeat that. They invested $220 million. They received $2.6 billion as a return on investment in the first decade. And fiber has an expected lifespan of 50 years. As for an example of a small town, in 2015, a one traffic light town in Kentucky installed a fiber network and attracted Teleworks USA. Teleworks is a nonprofit job training organization that gives 3 months of free service to anyone who wants to complete a workshop. In less than 5 years, workforce training on a fiber network has enabled more than 600 stay-at-home jobs to come to this county. Participants learn the computer skills needed to get placed at companies such as Hilton Hotels, Cabela's, U-Haul, and Apple. These contracts with national and international companies for work-at-home jobs are only available to communities with fiber internet. The speeds currently enjoyed in Corry would not be reliable or even fast enough for these companies to invest here. This Kentucky community also partnered with the Department of Veterans Affairs to create a telemedicine office and a private lounge inside their county library where veterans can talk discreetly to mental health providers and hang out with one another. And there are so many more examples of success of high-speed broadband networks attracting high-wage jobs and earners, supporting innovation hubs and networks, expanding youth programs and technology education, empowering the next generation of entrepreneurs, and improving health outcomes. And if anybody's interested, come see me. I'll share all of them. Not tonight. I know I'm long. The USDA states that e-connectivity for all rural Americans is a modern-day necessity. Access to high-speed internet is vital for a diverse set of industries, including agricultural production, manufacturing, mining, and forestry, and acts as a catalyst for rural prosperity by enabling efficient, modern communication between rural American households, schools, and healthcare centers, as well as markets and customers around the world. If Corry does not find its niche in the digital economy, we will continue to be buffeted by waves of disinvestment and job loss until eventually our fiscal viability as a community will be threatened. Again, Debbie Downer's back, sorry. It's just what the numbers tell us. Renowned planner Charles Buki said it best. Without end-to-end high-speed fiber internet access, Corry is not only not going to catch up, it will fall further and further behind. Corry will struggle to compete as long as the city and its school district are not connected to the broader world and the global economy through high-speed internet. Connecting and finding our niche in the digital economy gives Corry its best chance to turn the tide. And that tide can be turned. We can turn it together. We can turn the tide by first continuing to make the investments we are already making to improve the quality of life in our community and its conditions. And second, by accepting nothing less than big, proven breakout moves that will make Corry a leader in the state and the nation. Moves that will enable Corry businesses and residents to compete and to win on a global scale. Moves that will attract new residents, students, businesses, unique digital economy training opportunities, and good paying jobs. Corry was founded and thrived where two rail lines crossed, because rail was the top speed of business in the late 1800s. Today, high-speed fiber optic internet is the speed of business. When a gig fiber optic network passes every home and business in Corry, we will again attract people who want to live here, to start businesses here, to enrich our community. A Corry gig fiber optic network will provide blazing fast internet service that will power digital economy career training and a desire to live and work in Corry. Corry has this important chance to invest in its future for the benefit of our children and our children's children. In this very room on October, I believe, 14th, we had a press conference announcing that we were about to implement in the coming year our fiber network, and this is a quote from Representative Mike Kelly, who attended. What we are talking about today here is incredible, absolutely incredible. What you have been able to do here as a community is taking care not only of the present, but also taking care of the future. In the global competition we are involved in now, we must have the ability to communicate and do it in a quick fashion so that nobody is going to be faster than you. Corry needs this fiber network. It is the one competitive advantage we have in progress, ready to move forward, that will not only improve our quality of life, but give Corry a chance to survive financially in the future. I would normally end my presentation here and pass it over to Matt, but there have been a lot of questions about the Corry fiber project, so I'm going to very quickly, and then you get to hear Matt, go over these. So Impact Corry began funding for the fiber optic network in May of 2020, and the final funding was completed. We signed the last contract January 9th, 2022. In 22 months, we raised $2,249,940 for the project. The funds came from local and regional business donations, along with local, state, and federal funds. No local taxpayer dollars were used for this project. Between January 2022 and October 2024, Impact Corry completed an inventory of every utility pole in the Corry area. This is needed for fiber attachment. We worked through legal challenges to the project. We completed a request for proposals for the project. We shared this request with all our funders, and all our funders said, yeah, go ahead. And then we hired the project manager and the marketing team, and we were only in October waiting to see if Erie County Council would approve the county executive's budget, which kept the previously awarded $250,000 for this project in the Erie County budget. Also in October 24, Impact Corry completed fiber internet web page and all kinds of information for people to get. And in a city-county meeting, County Executive Brenton Davis spoke to the impacts of potentially losing the $250,000 in county funding for the fiber project, urging people to support his budget to the county. And he said, it would be hurting a community. It's hurting future generations. It's hurting kids that can't log on to school and do their online stuff. Then on October 15th, I was wrong, I was off by a day, we had the big press conference here. County Executive Davis shared, this is a pretty amazing thing to see how far Corry has come in its history. If you want to be a community, not just of choice, but I would call it a community of existence, you have to have these basic utilities. This is how we reverse the tides. And we do this through this unprecedented collaboration and historic investment. There were a bunch of other political speakers, and among them was Mayor Baker, who said, Corry is transforming. Corry is in transformation mode, and we're going to keep right on a plowing. We got to get going. It takes a lot of time and a lot of work. November 21st, 2024, Erie County votes to approve the budget. Our $250 is in there. It's good. So then we have to wait through, the county executive can make vetoes, then the county council decides. We got through all of it. The money was preserved, it was in place, and it would be available January 1, 2025. Impact Corry got ready to go to bid for the gig fiber project. As soon as the Erie County budget took effect, all the T's were crossed and I's were dotted, and we were gonna go. Without communication with Impact Corry, on Saturday, December 14th, an agenda for the Monday, December 16th City Council meeting was posted. Under new business, the agenda included approval of a letter to the county executive to repurpose the $250,000 of county funds invested in the gig fiber project, and a vote to suspend the city's participation in the gig fiber project. This agenda item was a shock. Impact Corry understood that the city had previously been reluctant about the project out of a concern that they may be financially responsible for any project overruns. But this issue had previously been addressed through legal assurances that though the city needed to be the lead applicant to meet application requirements, that Impact Corry held sole financial responsibility for the project, and that the city of Corry had no financial responsibility. Understanding that the December 16th city agenda items endangered the fiber project's success, Impact Corry reached out to the funders who would be impacted by either of these decisions. We received a solution that would hold on to our $875,000 worth of federal funds, and we presented that solution in 2 letters to council at the December 16th meeting. The most important was the request that the city sign a simple letter requesting the transfer of lead status for the federal fiber grant to Impact Corry. That this letter was the first step in beginning the transfer, which would relieve council of any involvement with the project. This is what was shared with City Council. Impact Corry wishes to relieve the city's concerns about its participation in the broadband fiber project. As funders have stated, the fiber optic grant award to the City of Corry and Impact Corry may be transferred to Impact Corry exclusively. This transfer will fully remove the City of Corry from participation in this grant. To make this transfer, we request a signature on a letter. The letter reads as follows. Dear Brandon McBride and Neil Fowler, I request that legal grantee status for ARC Power broadband grant number in here, be transferred from the City of Corry to Impact Corry. Then the person went on to say, as this document only requires the signature of one council member, signing this letter will not require a vote of council. As this letter is simple and clear, it does not require legal review. I am here to ask a member of council to sign this letter tonight and relieve the city of any responsibility in regard to the broadband fiber project. I will wait for your signature and/or any further conversation. We are also submitting a second letter notifying the City of Corry that Impact Corry will be assuming legal grantee status for the grant. Despite public outcry at the December 16th meeting, 4 out of 5 council members voted to defund the gig fiber project by $250,000 by requesting that the county executive, Brenton Davis, reallocate the funds. The issues cited are moot. Any feasibility issues had already been addressed and the project was set to go to bid. And though the funding contract was past its original contract expiration date, the grant was still active and had just been approved anew for funding in the Erie County budget past 26 days prior to this letter. Without the required vote of County Council to reallocate these funds, the City of Corry received notification from the county that they may use the fiber funds for a project for stormwater purpose. The stormwater project has been discussed in council meetings, and Corry City Councilman Jeff Fike shared project details. The urgent project for which the funds were requested for would clean out a drainage ditch east of Wayne Street to Hare Creek. The proposed project is in a protected wetland area. Any projects done in protected wetlands need approval and oversight of the appropriate environmental agencies. Mayor Baker says that an environmental agency notified him that this project must be done and said he was told that the project would cost about $100,000. An engineer working for the City of Corry says that Corry would be lucky if just the engineering studies cost them $100,000. Mayor Baker has been asked repeatedly to share the notification from the environmental agency that this project needs to be done. No proof of notification has been offered other than stating that he has received the phone call. With the December 16th vote, the City of Corry defunded the fiber project by $250,000 for an urgent project that to date has not been started, that there is no proof that the project is mandated by any environmental agency, that the project will even be allowed to be done in a protected wetland, that any permission requests to undertake the project from the correct environmental agencies have been begun, and that it is a project that no one knows how much it will cost. At this same meeting, the city decided not to take action on the proposed vote to suspend involvement with the gig fiber project, pending legal review of the letter of transfer requested by Impact Corry. I'm almost done, hang in.
Excuse me.
Whoops, am I in the wrong?
Excuse me. Maybe I'm alone on this, but I have not followed this whole action well at all. It just seems as if there's a lot of political gobbledygook that is interfering with the project moving forward. It seems like you have someone saying we got to keep on plowing, and then it seems like that person is impeding your progress.
You're not misunderstanding.
Okay.
Thank you. So at the next voting meeting of City Council, other than there was like a reorganization meeting, the next voting meeting of City Council, Mayor Baker represented that the only way the federal funds for the gig fiber network, the $875,000 that I spoke about, could transfer to Impact Corry was as if the city voted to terminate rather than transfer the lead applicant status as requested by Impact Corry. And then that Impact Corry could reapply. Mayor Baker assured council members that this action would still allow Impact Corry to receive the funds for this fiber project. The mayor's statement was inaccurate. It is not the only method that funds could remain with the project. In fact, the city of Corry and Mayor Baker had, prior to this, received legal proof from the funding agency that it could be transferred if they signed that letter. In making his request for the termination of the grant, Mayor Baker cited a meeting attended by himself, County Executive Brenton Davis, and 2 members of funding agencies. What wasn't shared at the City Council meeting was that at this meeting with the funding agencies, the funders were asked to transfer our $875,000 for our fiber network to the city's wastewater project. This request was rejected by the funder. As to the assertion that Impact Corry could get the funds for the project by applying again, let me be very clear. When you return grant dollars, it decreases trust in your community to complete a project. If these funds were to be returned, Impact Corry could reapply. Absolutely, we could apply, that's correct. But we could apply for the next 20 years and have just about this much chance of ever being funded. In the January 20th meeting of City Council, 4 out of 5 members of council again voted to terminate the grant, citing Impact Corry's request to proceed as the sole applicant for the grant. This action, along with the December 16th vote, defunded the gig fiber project in the City of Corry and City of Corry citizens for $1,125,000 and endangers the fiber internet project. Okay, here's a little happy balloon. This is to give hope. The fiber project was undertaken as a partnership through the process of collaboration, resolutions, and a unanimous vote by previous council members. Collaboration continued with the new council, and the project was still supported as witnessed by Mayor Baker's comments on behalf of the project at the October press conference. Despite these promises, the Corry Fiber project was still defunded by over $1 million without warning by short-sighted or uninformed officials. Impact Corry, this is the balloon happy part. Impact Corry is still working to move the fiber project forward and to enable all the amazing opportunities that will lead to, that will be led by Dr. Matt Platz and the Corry Higher Education Council.
I'm glad you ended on the happy balloon. Because this is the part where we go back to doom and gloom. The important thing here to remember when Chuck talks about the timelines and everything that's going on, we're going to get to the workforce development portion of it here in a minute. The thing to remember is that we are on the clock with some of this. The grant funding obviously was on the clock. We had certain time frames to get things done. The games that are getting played as we work through this are mind-boggling to me. I came to this agency 2 years ago. That was mentioned. Thank you for the nice introduction. I've been here 2 years, and I've never seen anything like it. Disinvestment in any community like this should bother everyone. And I have tried desperately not to be a political person in my position here and in general, overall. This has made it so that I have to be political. But with all of that said, 2 years I've been here. One of the things that's commonly said is it's like, well, there's not a lot of information. They don't know what they're doing. There's difficulty with some of the information getting out. I'm going to grab the folder that I showed Chuck today. This is 2 years of research. Did I mess you up on the camera there?
No, mic's not. I think it's dead.
New mic. So this is 2 years of research, and this isn't all of it. I told Chuck earlier today that when I've been working through this and the workforce development and everything that we're doing, there are pages and pages and pages that I've printed out and read. It takes 2 or 3 days to read, and then has nothing to do with the project. So it isn't something that we're working on that we haven't put a lot of time and effort in. There's a lot of research. There's a lot of people agreeing with us when we decide to move in these ways. So it's frustrating. Chuck mentioned earlier the internet speeds, something that came up and I just thought of it. It wasn't part of my original presentation. The Jefferson Educational Society that brings us here tonight, their Civic Leadership Academy in 2022 did a project, the Urban and Rural Divide. They also measured internet speeds down here. And this is their map of covered areas. You can see Corry here. If you go online, you can find this project on the Jefferson site. We're covered in the green area. But they said, I don't think that's true. And they came down here and they did spot checking, just like Chuck did. This map will show you all of the orange areas, slower speeds than broadband. It's a big problem. It's part of what we're going through. So with all that said, we'll get to the part that I had planned to talk about. Chuck read the quote from Charles Buki. I'm not going to read the whole thing since she did, but this part here, keep and attract households and businesses. That's going to be a big part of everything that we're trying to do here. One of the books, the research I was just talking about, Mark Blotman. I was introduced to this individual by another person that I've spoken with, Laith Wardy. He's a big economic development trainer. He's known all across the United States for the projects that he works on. I got to talk to Mark Blotman. This book, my assistant director will tell you, it's one of the most terrifying things that you're ever going to read. And it has to do with our work coming up here soon. There is a large portion of the workforce that is getting ready to retire and disappear from working life. It's an absolute demographic reality. It's something that we have to accept and something that we have to work on. I'm going to get some water. Not going to lose my voice already. We'll put that up there so that happens again. We'll have it. Mark talks about the economic base of a community. If you look at our community, he shows these 10 different economic bases that are possible within the United States. There are some other ones, but he broke it down to 10. Our community, what's important? Agriculture, educational institutions like this one, tourism and hospitality for outsiders, manufacturing, and soon a lot of retirees. That's going to be a big business here at some point. But let's talk about each of those. Agriculture. We have a lot of standard farming in our area. But the wave of the future is a lot of automation, a lot of being connected. Without fiber and without quick connection speeds, a lot of this won't be possible. I don't know if you saw recently, Troyer Farms got a large grant for advanced agriculture. About, I think it was $3 million. Did anybody see that? Was that right, $3 million? So they're moving towards new agriculture. Without the power of the fiber internet at the speeds that Chuck talked about, we will not be able to work in this space. Educational institutions like this one. Chuck talked a lot about the ins and outs of the fiber and what that looks like. That is a lot of like the plumbing, right? So what are we trying to do here and why is it important to the Corry Higher Ed? The fiber internet works as the plumbing of the new economy. So you've probably heard of the catch. It was at the old hospital, right? We're looking at it now. If you look over here, we have some plans that we hopefully can get this done. Our plans and a lot of research, before I even got here, Brody Howard did a lot of research. He was very good at it. They created plans to train in cybersecurity, aviation, coding, and fiber training. Without the plumbing that makes it possible, we will not be able to do that effectively. We currently work with NPRC and the Erie County Community College. They provide classes here. There have been times, NPRC especially, they have a internet delivery model. Mostly remote. They have classes upstairs. But their model falls down if we don't have good internet. Like Chuck mentioned, there were several times that we had to shut down the building and they didn't get to have classes. Tourism and hospitality for outsiders. I put the picture of the gift card here for a specific reason. A while back, I decided to get my wife a gift card down at the Salt Spa. She had mentioned that there was a float pod there. Has anybody done that, the float pod? How is that, Bill?
It's different. Everyone is getting very quiet.
I don't know where she heard it, but she had heard that, thank you, that they had a float pod, and she said, I would love to do that. And I said, okay. So I'm going to go down. I'll get her a gift certificate. She can go down there and do the float pod whenever she'd like. Walked into the place, handed her my credit card. Guess what? Has this happened to you? Wouldn't go through, wouldn't go through, wouldn't go through. I said, no big deal. I work at the Hyatt. I'll go get some cash. I'll be back in a little bit. But when you're talking about visitors and tourism, are they going to turn around and go back, or did they lose the sale? 100%. It's just something that can't be allowed to happen. And if it happened to me on a one-off, it's happening to other people too. Manufacturing, automation, advanced manufacturing. Mayor Baker's favorite thing is advanced manufacturing. He says the word like it clicks. Can't do any of it without high speed. Engineering and some of the processing speeds that are required to program these machines, you need the fiber internet. Data centers could be a big moneymaker for us upstairs. We have one in the plan right over there. Can't do it without fiber internet. And then retirees, connecting with people across the country, connecting with their kids and grandkids. It's just something that makes it more difficult without the fiber network. And you know the retirement homes up at Lecom and all that, without fiber internet, they can't operate that facility either. So, Mark talks about 5 essentials of community quality. And this is important because there's a couple of things here. It's that the ecosystem is stable and improving, has world-class education and improving, some of the stuff we've been talking about, low crime and improving, affordable housing and improving, and that the economy is growing faster than the population. Of these 5 things, how many things do you think Corry is doing? This isn't me saying it again. I am not an expert. I read a lot of books. I spend a lot of time reading books. He knows. These are the 5 things of essential community quality. Why is that a big thing for us? Well, we can break it down to our own statistics here, okay? This is a Corry population snapshot. I think it was 2020, so we're a little bit off, but it's close. You can see down here at the bottom, this is the aging population, kind of a big spike here. One thing that's an anomaly for Corry that's kind of interesting is that between 25, 30, 35, there's a little spike. But we're finding that those people aren't in the workforce. The why, we don't know. But the trend after that is steadily going down. So we're losing a lot of our population. Mark Lotman breaks this down into 3 different categories. There are those that are too old to work and too young to work, And at that point, you only get a certain part of the population that's in the workforce. The important part about what the workforce looks like is that they are, what am I trying to say? I lost where I was. They have to be qualified for certain jobs. That's the big thing. So if you look at our level of education here in Corry, you'll see that most of them have just high school. And you see that here, some high school, this is just the high school, over 50%. So most of the students that are in this area are not getting advanced degrees. So why do we think that is? The lack of connection to various types of training. If we can provide that here, we can help overcome some of this. So, we went a step further. We're one of 9 community education councils throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We are required by PDE funding to produce a community needs assessment every 5 years. Just so happened I had to do that this past year, and we found out a bunch of different things. We asked, what are the barriers to this community for pursuing additional education? What could you do, what could we do to try to remove the barriers and help them get to that? Some interesting things. Other presentations I'll talk about. Childcare right here, 19%. We'll address that later on in June. I have few thoughts about that. Transportation was big. Again, if transportation's big, what do they need? They need connected. They need the opportunities that are here. They're not driving to Erie. I drive every day. I don't think it's far, but the respondents think that it is. Technology here at 20.6. What's keeping you from getting an education? Slow internet speeds. They can't even play Xbox. These are some of the responses that we got. Education level right there, 31.7, and lack of experience, 36.5. You take all of this in a snapshot, what are we missing? The connections that make this available to the people that live here. So Mark Lotman kind of indicated, and I'm in strong agreement with him, why this is so important. We're at the point that we're at a zero-sum game for population. What that means is, with our declining population and just the statistics as they stand right now, we're at a point where, like Chuck said, we're either going to live or die. And there is a good chance that people will continue to flee this community if services like this are not available. What are the review? Communities are important and are going to be even more important. They are complex systems and are like people. And at the end of Chuck's presentation, you see what people can be like sometimes. They are very complex. The economy needs to grow faster than the population or the community can't improve. I bolded this one because it just goes to everything that we're talking about. The qualified quadrant of the population needs to grow faster than the others or you are screwed. And that's in the book. I didn't make that up. He wrote it. And it's probably dog-eared here. It is just the fact that if we don't provide these opportunities to people, we are in trouble. And leaders must believe they have influence over the future of their communities. You have 2 leaders in here that think they do, and I think we're doing a pretty good job with it. We just need some support, and like I've told Chuck a lot of times, this can't get done without the support from our local politicians. It can't. I'd have to do permits to build this facility. There's all kinds of things that come into this. There's no reason they shouldn't support it. You saw some of these quotes earlier. I won't read them again, but it kind of does bear in mind. I work from home for a company out of New York City, and my job depends on internet access. So how can we reverse that population trend? There are cities doing it. If you get a chance when you get home, check out Tulsa Remote. They got ahead of all of this. They have fiber internet. It's the most fantastic thing ever. They are encouraging and incentivizing people to move there with remote jobs. And their city is beginning to boom. With the fiber internet, we would be able to do very much the same thing. We could work with our partners in the city of Erie and create a very bustling, robust population that's working here. The advanced manufacturing, cybersecurity, all the stuff. In fact, this is a political thing. And I try not to get into these. Part of our training was cybersecurity. And we have been working hard on that. And not just to like say, okay, cybersecurity is something we're going to train in, so you can come get the training and you're going to be all set. Go out and find a cybersecurity job. No, we actually took it a little bit further. We created a pipeline to jobs, and we were very close to signing a contract with the federal government for cybersecurity jobs. Simply getting a certificate program, which is skills-based training, not a 4-year degree. We had worked with Linden Point down in Hermitage in their cybersecurity center. We were very close to signing with the Office of National Cyber Defense in the White House to have 300 regional jobs come to this area for remote work. We needed the fiber to be able to make it work right. But that was 300 jobs that we could have attracted people to this area. When the election went how it did, that entire department went away overnight. And so did the 300 jobs that we had lined up to come to Corry. So again, some of this stuff can't happen without the help of politicians. If the politicians don't support it, stuff like this goes away. Like I said, there are remote work employers. They're requiring their employees to have fiber internet. This came from this website here. Employers have recognized a direct correlation between internet connectivity and productivity. They require the, do you know what this?
Fiber to the home.
Fiber to the home. Companies can ensure their employees have the tools needed to complete their workload effectively. Not when it snows outside that they can't do their work that day, because that's not going to work. And that's really all I have. It was the doom and gloom at the end of the workforce development and what we lost so far. But I promise you, Chuck and I are continuing to work on this. Fiber internet in Corry would be a game changer for this community, and I can't understate that enough. So I do appreciate all of you coming and listening to this and getting on our soapbox a little bit. We're passionate about it, I think, right? So you want to come back up in case some folks have questions? Wish my voice was working better tonight. It's an allergy season and it just gets me. Bill? Oh, go ahead.
I did not know your hand.
We're using Michael Baker International for consultant on this, right?
Yeah, that is one thing. We've done a lot of research. I know way too much about this, but I know this much about putting in a system. So actually in our grants, we got money to hire a project manager, and we hired Michael Baker International that does like the whole city wiring, like big engineering jobs. So they will actually be the project manager for the Corry project, so we know it gets delivered on time, on budget, and with the right specs.
Is it Tim Walker's joke that's different than Michael Baker local? Not my joke, I stole it, but it's still funny.
I couldn't plan.
Okay, so they're our technical resource on this, right?
Yes, they're also our marketing arm. Marketing is written in the grant. And when I say marketing, it's really community outreach, because you saw the map. I saw everyone's eyes go, is my house on there? Yes, they're the people who be answering the phone, answering the emails, getting people the information they need about the network as we go forward. And that's why it needs a marketing presence.
So this will eventually cover the whole Corry area school district?
Yes, there might be some other solutions other than fiber, just because it could take, well, I'm gonna live a long time. Maybe it'll get done in my lifetime. But it's about, last time I checked, if you're doing it with funds that don't require all the bells and whistles of grants, you can do a mile of fiber for about $12,500 installed and up. With with funds that are community-based, it's about 24,000. So at 100,000 a year, you can see how long it's gonna take us. So some areas we will go for still high speed, but it will have to be augmented by other, like 5G networks. Like if we've got the fiber right up to it, we could create a 5G bubble to get over a place where it might be difficult to run the pipeline. But we're committed to high speed, true high speed throughout the school district.
So I have one question for somebody. Will everybody in the service area be forced to connect, or can they stay with their present internet?
You can absolutely stay with whomever you want. One thing that I probably didn't stress enough in this is we've worked with the local providers since day one, from Zito to Comcast. You saw what the prices would be from them. They have, because we're paying for the installation of the network, they're not out of pocket, right? So their delivery is about running the network, buying the broadband. They were actually projecting $25 to $35 a month for households at the basic speed. So this is part of our project that's really important. Some people will jump when they see the price is better and the service is better. Some people will stay with their current. Everything's fine. But you can tell Spectrum is scared because they're offering 2-year deals. They want you locked in, so when the fiber comes, you take a while to get out.
So how much is this gonna cost, and when will that start?
We raised $2.249949 for it.
Is that like pie?
Yeah, right? It's embedded. We are still working to get some of our funding back. We have replaced the county funding. ECRA had approved a loan for the project about 2 years ago. And that loan is, some of these grants are reimbursement, so you have to pay the money up front before you get reimbursed. Impact Corry is not huge. We don't have big reserves of cash to put that money out. So ECRA approved a loan for us so we could be liquid enough to pay out the money, wait for the reimbursement, pay out the money, get it done, right? ECRA said, we approached them and said, we just lost $250. Your loan is for $300. Can we have a longer repayment scheme? And that is all well and good. So we're replacing that county money with a loan that, again, that means some money comes out of the yearly stipends that would be reinvested in the community to repay those funds. The $875,000 from the federal government is not so easily replaced. I am still working on that. I really can't talk openly about how I'm working on it, but I'm still working on it. If we're not able to keep those funds, we would have to go into the project without them. If we go in without them, that endangers, since we won't have such a big chunk of money, it actually endangers the 100,000 reinvested every year. Because the provider might have to come in with that $875,000 to make it work. And if that's the case, Corry will not see the same benefit.
So do we know what users will pay on a monthly basis?
No, we do not. We've had some give us pricing structures, like I said, that started with a base range for households between 25 and 35, and a base range for businesses that I think was about 160, and that's at gig. And also, because we're gonna own the network, we can dictate some terms. This contract goes out and it asks that the provider commit to providing a certain number of free subscriptions to be dictated by the school district for students, families who cannot afford it. They also are asked if they make over a certain amount, are they willing to kick more back to the community? So those were the thumbnails. They could make the budgets work at those levels. But until we know who the provider is that will win it, I can't say for certain what it will be. But it will be much lower than the about $100 that everybody else is asking you for.
I want to dovetail off of that just for one, because I heard a sigh of relief about the price and who would be eligible for lower costs or maybe free costs. Because of the promise of this fiber network, we were fortunate enough to win a grant recently that will allow us to distribute 75 laptop computers to citizens within Corry who cannot afford to buy one. So the connectivity that you're seeing here and the free prices and all of that, we're trying to make sure that everybody gets that in their hands. That's coming soon. Don't come to the window looking for a computer yet. That was a state grant. It's taken them some time. We got the contract figured out. That's done. I would suspect that within 3 or 4 weeks, those computers will be here. We'll put out the guidelines for people, and then people can come in and get a computer.
So just to repeat, taxpayers are not on the hook for any cost overruns.
No, taxpayers are on the hook to have more and reinvested in their community.
More people live here, don't have to raise the taxes,
Yes.
right?
So what can people do to make sure that the program goes forward?
Vote for the right people.
We need the help of the politicians. Can't do it by ourselves.
At this point, we've got a lot of people working on our side. I will take all prayers, all devotions, anything you can think of that will help the people deciding our fate, decide in our favor.
I know you don't want stories, but I want to educate this group a little bit. Because you brought up the idea of politics. Everything you do has politics. Every regulation, every business, how you live your life, health, everything. I spent 40 years in politics. Twice as mayor of Corry, 15 years as a county commissioner, 35 years as governor appointed to the State Library Board, and director of the Northwest Governor's Office for Governor Corry. So I have a little bit of experience in politics. Now, politics is a business. Would you put somebody into a business without any training? Doug, would you put somebody in charge of your finances in your business that never did a checkbook? Okay, you wouldn't know. You want people that have skills and that can move things forward. I came back to Corry 8 years ago because I was asked to come back with my experience to take a town that couldn't do payroll, that couldn't, the meetings were 4 or 5 hours long, there was total chaos in the community. Bill Roach stepped forward and ran with me. Drew Scaberry and Steve Drake, who's one of the best councilmen I've ever worked with. And in 4 years, we took a bankrupt community and left them with $1 million surplus of restricted fund with no tax increase. That's what we did, Bill. Nobody does that. When I was in the governor's office, I worked with 200 governments. I managed grants in the whole region on the northern tier, in 18 counties. I know what I'm talking about. And the reason I want to talk to you for a moment is to give you the real story of funding, because if we do not protect this funding, you might as well put Corry in the backwater for decades. Funding is a very, very touchy thing. I've worked with funding for 40 years, government funding for 40 years. I've read grants. I've changed grants. I changed a $3 million grant in Sharon, Pennsylvania, with the governor's blessing, that developed a $100 million business. So all the noise that's been going around, it's like a little league baseball team trying to play in the major leagues here in the government. These people have no political skills, they have no background, and they have agendas. And one thing that Bill can attest to, our council, we didn't have an agenda. We didn't always agree, but we worked together. But no one person dominated, right, Bill?
Yeah.
We worked as a team. We can get back to that in a few months, but I want to give some kudos here also. All of this that you see did not just happen. There are a lot of people in this room that helped make this happen. Matt, a tremendous addition to Corry, and of course Chuck was a blessing to Corry. That was all in the game plan. Every speech I ever made was, it's a new day in Corry. And I was proud because we were moving forward. And then the naysayers got in and beat us up, and you know what happened there. And they took control. At that time, a few months before all that happened, Mark Holman, who had been Tom Ridge's chief of staff in the governor's office, called me from Washington. And because we had the blue zones, Mark, I helped Tom get the national lobby group for the blue zones. I helped him get that contract. So Mark called me, and at the end of the conversation, he said, the congressman is getting $17 million, which shocked me because earmarks were not being given to congressmen. So I got on the phone immediately when I hung up to Joe Burke in Congressman Kelly's office. And I said, Joe, what about the $17 million? She said, how did you find out about that? They told me 2 hours ago. They haven't even gotten the guidelines to me. I said, I have friends in Washington. I said, you will, by this afternoon, have 2 grants in your hands in the congressman's office for this project. Now, this is why I say the kudos. I had told Chuck and Jason Biani months before to have shelf-ready projects to go in a moment's notice. The fiber, we had done tremendous work on the fiber. Impact Corry, everybody was working on it. Chuck had a grant ready like that. The other $400,000 has gone to the sewer plant, which is a $40 million project, folks. Okay? So we submitted them. The congressman called me that afternoon and he said, I don't know where the guidelines are going, but we're going to support you all the way through. He did. It went to the Senate. Senator Toomey does not like earmarks. He's not going to support us. So we went over to Senator Casey. Senator Casey supported us. We got $900,000 because we were ready. See, you have to be ready in the community. This stuff didn't just happen in a vacuum. So we got the $900,000. The $400,000, of course, is going in to help the sewer plant. But this group, I can't understand. I've never seen anything. I spent 2.5 hours in the governor's office last Thursday, and they can't understand it either. How anybody could give $1 million back to the feds and state. And we're working and we're protecting we're protecting those grants throughout the whole system. But why I'm talking to you like this is, in the grant world, and I've read grants for the state, and I've engineered grants for communities. The first question they ask is, has this community performed? Have they accepted the grant and done the grant right? If that check mark goes on there that they failed, the grant goes to the bottom of the pile. For every grant dollar that is out there, there's $1 million requested. So you know your foot's in the bucket then. So the question again is, what can we do? Well, first of all, we need to protect the future of our grants. We have the two best grant writers in northwestern Pennsylvania, in Chuck and Melinda. By far. Seriously. I'm saying that from a professional standpoint. And the city won't use them. They won't talk to them. And they have, and it's a little tiny community. They talk to each other. So we're going to have to, there's got to be people, citizens, who are going to have to go and challenge this. Because we can, if we lose this grant, we will go to the bottom of the pile for a long, long time. And I know in talking and working, I'm working with, on several, I'm the founder of the land bank and the community college, and we're working with the governor's office on several projects right now. But one of them is broadband on a broader space. I mean, I've worked on that, been working on it for years. Governor Shapiro is going to put a lot of money into broadband. And we gotta be right there in the front. So, yeah, put the panty button on, folks, because we have everything here, except we have no leadership. And the other thing is the county executive in this room promised the group that's in charge in Corry right now $250,000 on a project. And they started the stormwater thing. The county executive said to the group, "You've done nothing on stormwater in 5 years." "Bill, we put $1 million in stormwater." The county executive failed on the first round of those types of grants. And this was low-hanging fruit, folks. I'm just telling you like it is. And we're trying to protect those grants right now. And the citizens of Corry have got to stand up for this town, and they have got to get this level back out again. I mean, we can do, I can protect, Chuck can protect, Matt can protect. You have one of the best teams in the whole state. Like I said, I'm not just a Corry person. I work on a whole state level. And when I tell you that this town has potential in the future, please believe me. But it can be trashed real easy. And who's in charge? Just remember, every politician in office works for you, the voter. Somebody would come at me and they'd yell at me and I'd say, "Are you registered?" They'd say, "No." I don't have to listen to you. You don't have any power over me. But if you're registered and you vote, you do, because I have to answer to you. And Mayor Baker and the council has to answer to you. You're their bosses. Let's have a little bit of bossiness, okay?
Thank you, Dave.
In retrospect, I'm surprised I didn't hear more about the DCED and the Pennsylvania Broadband Authority.
DCED is actually our, okay, so when you get a federal grant, you don't interact directly with the feds in most cases. You have an intermediary agency, and the DCED is our, what's called an RSBA, Registered State Basic Agency. So they are right at our side working with us on this.
Are they the agent through whom the 100 and some?
No, for the 875,000, they are our registered state basic agency. DCED is our partner in pulling down that federal money. So everything gets processed through their systems, and they have been at our side since day one, and they have been terrific. They even hired, because once the state got involved in these broadband projects, they went, "What?" Right? So they actually hired consultants to work with the broadband projects to keep everything on the right track. But they have been invaluable.
In fact, they are part of the laptop grant.
Yes.
So they're consultants, NDCED.
So I'm sorry I left them out, but they've been in there.
And the Pennsylvania Broadband Authority, do they have a role?
Yes, actually them, PUC, the public, Public Utilities Commission, everybody. So essentially, there's all these obstacles that you have to overcome before you can roll it out. So like, literally for us to own the network, we had to work with them to find out, owning it as a, okay, in Pennsylvania, a municipality cannot own a fiber network because they decided it would be too much competition for the providers. But you can do it as a nonprofit. But then there came the question of, yes, but you have to give incumbents in the area 14 months to prove they can't do it before you can even do it, right? So we have been working with those agencies and a team of lawyers, to tell you the truth, for over 2 years to overcome all of that. But they have been great. We have met with people from Chattanooga. I've read pretty much every report from co-op. We're hoping our model goes co-op here because it would return more to the community. It's going to depend on which provider gets it, but the US Co-op for broadband is a big consortium and they've been very helpful. We spent, since 2019 is when research started on this, so it's been a long time in the making, and we've reached out to a lot of folks. I also belong to Infinite Erie has a broadband delivery team. I'm on that. Northwest Commission has a broadband delivery team. I serve on that, which is 8 counties trying to get broadband out to. So I feel like every door we've knocked on, they've opened and said, come on in, we're gonna help you. We even partner with Warren. Warren County was like, you're ahead of us with getting it done. We're ahead of you with, they actually paid for a study like Erie County did of all the, we were doing it by ourselves to get this going early. But they've been great because we've learned a lot from their approach. They've learned a lot from ours.
I have a question, just because technically I am not a resident of Corry, but I am in the Corry School District. So this project directly impacts where I live. Because I don't live in Corry, what can we do? And I want to tell you all and everybody that's worked on getting this is like such a fabulous opportunity, and it's going to exponentially increase what Corry has to offer for young people and old people. But you know, as not a resident of Corry, but of the school district, what can we do?
Well, number one, there's one point I want to bring up with that. Throughout the school district, we worked with the Department of Education as well. We wanted to bring them on to be the curriculum advisor for the work we were doing. And they said, we can't do it, Chuck. It takes us 2 years to make a textbook. But in 2 years, working with Penn State and everybody else about how we train people to be computer coders, so don't start training them on the computer language until they're seniors, because it changes that quickly. So this is a big thing. If our whole school district gets this cutting edge curriculum, people are gonna move to our district, not just to Corry, but to our school district to take advantage of these. I don't know if there's anything you can do to change current council's minds.
Is there like a secondary level, like, you know, can we reach out to the Appalachian regional ones and like say, hey?
At this point, senators and they're answerable to senators and representatives at the federal level,
So
and
reach
they
out
have
to our
weighed in.
legislators.
And normally I'm for like grabbing the picket sign and going out there. In this case, we're trying to just do it that way. But if we do send out an alert that we need people to help, please let us know if you can help in any way possible, whether it's writing letters to the editor or talking or telling us what your internet speed is. But right now, I don't know that community outcry is going to change it. I don't think it will.
I would recommend, we know where the current occupant of the county executive's office is on this. We know where the local council is on this, okay? There are other representatives you could reach out to. Jake Banta is the state representative for this area.
For you, that's the thing.
Yeah, well,
I
where-
live in Crawford.
You-
So I'm
okay.
in Crawford County.
Yeah.
You know, like the
All right.
folks that are in Warren and Crawford counties, you know, it's gonna be a little bit different how we make an impact.
I would say, and you've noticed Impact Corry has been very quiet through this because we're not litigious. We want to do what's best for Corry. But until this first question of the ARC money is resolved, we're not calling for community action. As soon as it's resolved, look for us. But until then, money is not sent to people who are alarmists. So we're just keeping it low and slow. And you cannot put that on the internet.
If the 875 is resolved, are we still, do we still need the city of Corry to give us permission to do anything?
Nope.
Or Impact Corry and the higher ed can move forward?
We can move forward. There are no permitting fees. It's actually, the permitting fees will go to the utility companies who own the poles. Our entire system, we were looking at underground, but the cost just got too exponential. So ours will be on utility poles, which is, it doesn't run afoul of anybody's rules. So when that is done, we've been working with the rail lines too, because crossing over a rail line is tough, but we're already talking with them, so no, there's nothing in the way after that.
Sorry. She took my question, but I'm good. I had another question. So timing then, as far as like the monies and where you're at, is there a certain time limit? And can we wait till after the election?
Here's the thing. The USDA money, the 500,000, I've pushed that out to the end of 2027, so that's not going to disappear. Some of it was local donation. I think I can keep the corpus of it intact, but that money, it needs to happen faster than that, but I will tell you that a grant to the federal government, a grant of to us, 875,000 sounds like a whole lot of money, and it is. To the federal government, that's a small grant. And with the upheaval at the federal level, no one knows what the outcome is going to be. This is already an approved grant, so it shouldn't be impacted, but everybody's dealing with the top problems first. So I'm being patient and I'm offering, anything you need from us to move this along, but I cannot predict how long it's going to take them to get to it. Again, thoughts and prayers and hopes. I know that doesn't sound like a strategy, but it's what I have now.
And the only comment I would say to those, because I also do not live in the city of Corry, unfortunately, but us as people who are very passionate about what happens here in our community can speak to the ones who live in the city of Corry and say, you know what, we really need this to happen. We need a change in government. We need this to happen. And I think that would be our part, is to make sure that the change happens. So we, as the people that live on the outside of Corry, can certainly try to make that happen.
And I'm going to say on that, I love Corry. I actually grew up in Warren and worked all over the nation. I'm living in Corry. I love it here. I want to live the rest of my life here. Corry has something unique, and we're real people, and we get along, and we work very hard. And I want this to succeed because I want that ethic and that place to continue. So, yeah, I know we say a lot of doom and gloom. It's the facts. It's the projections. But I think we have a real chance. If literally we're the first small city in Pennsylvania to have full fiber, you know what that does to anybody looking to live in Pennsylvania that wants to live rural? Those houses that we're worried about who's going to buy them next, that's answered. The jobs, a lot of them are bringing them with them, that's answered. It's truly transformative.
I have to be honest, there's like 4 of us here that's on the Corry Higher Ed board here to support Matt and what he has done and what Chuck has done. What this could do for our educational community, for our small community, is amazing. And speaking as a board member, I gotta tell you, we're excited to see this happen for the city of Corry, for our kids, for our people that here that are continuing education, and the things that we can offer is immense. Yeah. And I just think as, again, as the people who are I can't stress enough, that are passionate about what happens in our city, in this amazing city that we live in. You know, it would just open up lots of channels for a lot of people, and I just think it's extremely important. So we need to talk, we need to get out there, you need to know this better, so we can talk more educated, because that's what we've been doing, is asking Matt more questions so that we understand more about the process. And the more I hear Chuck talk, and you hear Matt talk or the others, but just ask, because then we can be the mouth, the speaker that's out there that's saying, guys, this is really important, for those that just don't understand.
And this deck, along with the notes I've written, will be on our websites too. So if you want to reference it, if you want to share facts with friends, it'll be available, impactcorry.org and
CorryHigherEd.org.
there you go.
And I think one thing, you know, along with what Tina is saying that, you know, we really haven't spoken about yet is, again, once we get the infrastructure in place, if Corry is the first, you know, rural town in Pennsylvania that has this, that goes so far. Because as I was writing grants for trails, the fact that I could say that Corry is the first Blue Zone certified city, you know, east of the Mississippi, I guarantee that helped me get grants. And so if we can say that, hey, we've got gig fiber in Corry, we've got the infrastructure in place, then that's gonna help Matt get more grants to do even more educational programming.
And,
No, that's,
and if you live, this is a tiny little nugget, if you live in a community with fiber, your house immediately appreciates $9,000, no whether it's worth 30,000 or 200,000. So it's property value, property values up, and that doesn't get charged on your taxes, that's when you go to sell it. Because this utility is what people are looking for.
Don't leave.
And also, don't leave, but also the fiber in the basement here is gonna make this real estate very attractive. Matt, if you look at the bill.
I didn't mention that.
The things, like, he has office spaces, they're already all flamed.
Where are we at? Yeah,
Because
I should have
when
mentioned
you
it.
are worried about, if you're a
Fifth
day
floor.
trader, think about how those milliseconds matter, right? So anything within close proximity to the fiber node here, the real estate value is going to go up.
So on the what we call the fourth floor, they marked it here as the fifth floor. If you go over and look at this, these are all the office spaces that we had kind of planned, and this is a loose plan. It could change before it's all done. But we have had people in to talk to us about these spaces, and it's completely booked, which is a good problem to have. Once it's built, we're full.
So we're looking that way too.
Oh, that's the child care piece. We'll talk about that next in the summer.
So this is plan, right? If the money is freed up, you actually already have physical product that might go on the cell phone poles.
Yeah, we actually have $500,000 worth of fiber at a local warehouse. I could have put it up.
Could you
with a dog
imagine?
by now. If
Could you?
And I just might do that. Maybe that's plan D. We return all the funds, Chuck gets a donkey. And we string it up. But
No, I
no,
won't say
it
it.
is not far-fetched.
I'm not gonna say it.
And put it this way, a lot of people are asking us questions and doubting us on this level. When you send your grant to the federal government, they have specialists in this area reading your grant. You don't get funded if they think it's pie in the sky. If you're out in left field, they're not going to fund you.
They have
So-
scoring metrics that they, you have to do certain things. Oh, we're going to build a nice sidewalk. That's nice. Everybody does. They throw that one away. Just telling you.
So if I could sign the contract that say, as I have the money, I could have the RFP announced and be probably going in 2 weeks because we need to put out word, but everything's ready to go. And then it's 1 month for the RFP to go out, bids to come in. Then they go into design phase, permitting phase, and our consultants with MBI, I like to say MBI rather than Michael Biggs International.
It just hurts. You can't say it.
They tell us that the entirety of our community could be connected in 6 weeks. Wow. It is just all this preliminary work that takes forever.
I just have to say, you guys are incredible.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, kudos to you for all the work. I mean, just what I saw up there, I was amazed, so, but.
Well, we
That's
love
all.
it here. It's more than a job, and I just believe so much in this community. Any other questions? I know you're all here extra late. Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening.